So today we are in Venice and we're going to be painting this scene here. It is actually illegal to be sat on bridges, but we don't mind. Starting out with some rough sketching, just using a pencil here and on my Japanese sketchbook. Very quickly sketching out the buildings and the river and all the little archways. Next, I'm going to be grabbing some watercolour, which is just from Winston & Newton. I have the travel watercolours. So they're really good. You can just take them anywhere, and there's even a little compartment with the water. Now I'm just going for light blue and doing a little bit, a sliver of the sky and a little bit of the water. So with this painting, I'm going to be, every time I paint one of the buildings, I'm going to try and use that same colour and put it into the reflections of the river. Because the water is so still, you can see all the buildings so clearly. So with this video, I really wanted to capture the feeling of this place through a watercolor painting. And yeah, I mean, Venice has such deep connections to the art world. Like, some of the world's greatest painters and sculptors worked and lived here. So I just thought it'd be really cool, to do this. So the first step for me is always just to sit and observe how the light changes constantly here and how that affects the colours dramatically. I like to sketch loosely with a pencil to block in the compositions right at the beginning. And I feel like doing watercolour in Venice is actually quite tricky because of the humidity. It affects how quickly and slowly the paper dries. So it's actually taken a really long time for each section to dry, whereas in other countries it dries really quickly. So I'm finding that a little bit difficult. And you also notice that I'm building up the washes really slowly. The goal is to let the pigment and the water do some of the work. Watercolours have a life of their own, and the magic is often in the accidents. Venice is unlike any other city in the world. It's built on over 100 little islands, and there are no roads here, just canals. No cars, nothing. That's why everything feels slower, softer, and more poetic. And what I thought was pretty cool was, as there's no cars in Venice, there are police on boats, shops on boats, ambulance, bin men, everything that you can you name it, emergency services, fire brigade, they're all on boats. So if the police do come, they are going to be rocking up on a boat. It's also slightly put me off, because usually most cities I go to, I try and do a piece of street art. There's only one piece of street art in this entire place, and that's Banksy's little girl with a pink smoke grenade. I went and visited it. It's just above the water. It's really cool. But that's it. And it's because I guess it's so incredibly illegal here. So I've been really put off it, and maybe out of a bit of respect as well, not to damage it. As some people would say, Venice is already a work of art. So I don't know. I didn't make any street art here, so this is why I'm doing this painting. But yeah, it's really nice. You're surrounded by water, old stone, and it has a real fading grandeur. It's a place that invites you to slow down and look very closely. Like, I really wanted to come here to Venice because, in fact, of global warming and how water levels are constantly rising. And if I leave it until I'm old and retire and I come back, I'm pretty sure Venice is going to be pretty much destroyed. Unless we, change our ways and save the world. And reduce, climate change. So you can already see the effects of it. Like, a lot of the buildings are just crumbling away, and they're all on big wooden stilts, like, it's not gonna last forever. So I had to, go and see it before Venice disappears. But it was really nice. You can always hear the water, you're always close to it. And the echo of footsteps through the narrow alleys. It's incredibly atmospheric, and you can always feel why so many artists have been drawn here. One of my favorite days, we went on a gondola, and that was really fun. The guy didn't actually sing anything, which I always thought they do, so I ended up putting on some Venetian music on Spotify, and that just made it. It was really nice. And then later that day, we went on these little paddle boats, and canoe, and we went around in the middle of like a massive rainstorm, going through the canals, trying to like dodge boats. And all of a sudden I see this massive head in the water, like this massive piece of flesh, and like we were going so fast, like we went straight past and we were like, what was that? Anyway, went back around, and the tour guide said it was the head of a swordfish. And I was like, what? That's crazy. How did I get in there? And obviously Venice is connected to the ocean, and all of these ocean creatures actually end up in the canals. So yeah, that was pretty interesting. There's a lot of fish in there. But as you're walking around Venice, you do randomly suddenly get whiffs of like sewerage. So you wouldn't want to swim in there, and also it's really illegal to swim in there. So I've studied a lot of art in art school, university, all of that. And Venice has a really rich and unique art history. During the Renaissance, it was one of the most important cultural centres in Europe. While Florence focused more on line and structure, Venetian artists emphasized colour and light. Titan, Tintorito, and Veronese were giants of the Venetian school. Their paintings are lush, dramatic, and full of this glowing, life-like colour. You can still see their works today in places like the Gallery dell'Accademia and the Scuola Grande di San Rocco. The use of oil painting on canvas actually became popular in Venice before it spread throughout Europe, but the damp climate made it hard to use wooden panels, so canvas was far more practical. It's funny how geography can shape art. Today, Venice continues to be a hub for art, especially during the Venice Biennale. It's one of the most prestigious contemporary art exhibitions in the world, held every 2 years. During the Biennale, pavilions from countries around the world showcase cutting-edge work, from installations to performance to digital media. It's a great contrast to the classical art Venice is known for. There's also the Peggy Guggenheim Collection, one of my favourite places. It's a modern art museum housed in Peggy's former home on the Grand Canal. You can see works by Picasso, Kandinsky, and Pollock. or just steps from the water. Whilst I was here, I also went into Da Vinci, basically a museum of Da Vinci's works, and a lot of it was, recreations of his drawings. So flying devices, it was mainly flying devices, and there were all sorts of wooden sculptures and things that you could touch and kind of be involved in. That was really interesting to go in and look at, and obviously some of his paintings and artwork. Back to the painting though. One of the biggest challenges, I'd say, is getting the reflections right. In Venice, the reflections are constantly moving, and the colour of the water is always changing depending on the light. I try not to overwork it. Just a few loose horizontal brushstrokes can often suggest the shimmer on the surface better than something, more detailed. Painting here really teaches you to embrace imperfection. The buildings are old and worn, the walls are cracked and patched and crumbling away. But that's part of what makes them so beautiful. I think that's a good metaphor for art too. I remember years ago, I actually started getting into hyper-realistic paintings and drawings, to a point where I would create something like a drawing that was so incredibly realistic, I would post it on Instagram, and people would just assume it was a photograph, I guess, because it would get virtually no likes or comments. Even though I spent days working on it, to a point where my wrists and my hands would hurt and my hands would be all cramped. Yet I would post a silly little doodle and that would just blow up. It would get so many comments and likes. So yeah, that's an interesting one. If you ever do come to Venice and want to explore the art beyond the big museums, I'd recommend looking for the little churches. Many of them are filled with masterpieces. For example, Santa Maria di Miracoli is a marble covered jewel box. Also, the Scalia Grande di San Giovanni is also less well known, but has beautiful interiors and often has contemporary exhibitions. There are also lots of small artist studios and galleries hidden in the back streets. Some are glass makers, other painters, others bookbinders. Venice is thriving, breathing art tradition, not just in museums, but everywhere around you. There are so many leather shops that, of course, were Italian leather. I bought myself a little leather sketchbook and it just smells amazing. It's so beautiful, it's handcrafted, it's just stunning. And also there's loads of vendors who are, I don't know whether it's a scam personally, but there's a lot of artists about. So there'll be people out selling oil paintings, art prints, watercolor paintings, and there'll be loads of people, painting watercolors. Although it could be a scam, because I walked past and of course I stopped and I was having a look at the paintings. They were absolutely breathtaking. These watercolors, I was like, wow, stunning. Each one was only €20, €20, and I was like, that's a bit cheap. Anyway, when we walked up, the lady started painting in front of her and she just kept getting blue and putting it over and over again on an already blue area. And then we walked away and we looked back and then she was on her phone. And then when people came up to her stall, she would start painting again. And then the next day, it was a completely different woman doing the exact same thing. I took a business card and I tried looking her up on Instagram and I couldn't find anything. So it could be a scam. I know there are a lot of those going around, but hey ho. From this bridge, it's so funny to see the gondolas glide right underneath you. You'd think it might be cliche, but it just isn't. There's still something so magical about them. The gentle rhythm, the way they manoeuvred with just one oar, is poetry in motion. Gondolas are licensed after years of training. It's a tradition that has been passed down from generations. Even the design of the gondola is symbolic. The Iron Pro represents the 6 districts of Venice, and the curve of the top mimics the Grand Canal. It's one of those little layers of meaning that make Venice feel alive and storied, like every detail has a history. Whereas you look at modern contemporary buildings and there just is no soul, nothing. Let's talk more about the Venetian masters. One of my personal favourites is Canalito. He is famous for his meticulous views of Venice, almost archaeological in detail but still full of atmosphere. His works are so precise that tourists in the 1700s would buy his paintings almost like postcards. And he used something called camera obscura, a kind of early projection device to get the perspective right. Then there's Giorgione, who brought mystery and softness to Venetian painting. His pieces have this dreamy, poetic quality, like a mist settling over a story you only half remember. Painting while travelling is something I'd recommend to everyone. It's, to me, kind of like fishing. You've got to like sit there, and for the most part, it's slightly boring and a little bit frustrating. But when you catch a fish or when you finish a painting, all of this adrenaline and excitement appears, and it's like the best thing ever. I feel like in today's society, we are so used to scrolling mindlessly on social media that we have lost our ability to be patient. Like, last night I was with my sister and we wanted to watch the world's scariest movie, apparently, which was The Exorcist. And we put on the original and we watched half an hour of it, but it was so slow moving. We were both saying that it was just so slow. Each scene felt like it was dragged out. And then I thought, you know what? We'll put on the modern version. So we put the modern 2023 version on and we watched it. And it was so much more fast paced. But it's such a massive contrast how nowadays we need movies to be so intense and fast and have the music and everything. Like, the original movie had no music, had nothing. It was so boring. But back then, people wouldn't have thought it was boring. They would have thought it was the best thing since sliced bread. You know, because they didn't have TikTok. They didn't have all this addicting videos. Like, that's why I'm trying my best to convert over to just YouTube. Like, I often uninstall TikTok because I end up spending the whole day on it. Or other various like platforms like Instagram or Facebook, I try and avoid it. And I try to only put content up to help my art career and to, you know, remember moments. To like document things so I don't forget and I can look at it when I'm old. But I don't want to consume other people's content, you know, like fast, quick reels. Like, I would much rather keep my attention span and watch a long video like this. Like, most of the time I don't even watch the videos. I will just be listening to them and whilst I'm doing something else, like painting a mural or something. But yeah, anyway, rant over. Yeah. And I mean, like, a photo can be snapped in just a second, but when you're painting, even a simple sketch, it's like a record of time and presence. It's a form of memory you can build with your hands. I think travel itself is creative because you've taken yourself out of your routine, and suddenly everything's new. That newness sharpens your senses. It's perfect mindset for making art. If you're looking to explore Venice's quieter side, you could always go to Carrasino. It's a beautiful museum dedicated to the 18th century Venetian life. It's full of ceiling paintings. But yeah, I'm sort of running out of things to say really. I think this is quite a long video. I'm going to do another video about Venice, but it's going to be all the things that I've done in Venice, so that'll be really cool. But yeah, I'll wrap it up there. I just want to say how grateful I am to be able to paint in a place like this. Like, what a dream for any artist to be able to paint in Venice. It's so cool. But yeah, whether you're watching this video from home or planning a trip of your own, I hope this video has inspired you to create, slow down and see the beauty in the world around you. I really hope you enjoyed watching this. And if you ever do travel, definitely bring a sketchbook and a couple of little paints. You don't have to be a professional, just take some time, look closely and be present. That's what art's really about. It's stopping and taking time to create instead of consume. So yeah, if you guys liked this video, let me know in the comments and subscribe and like, and then I'll make more videos like this because I plan on traveling the world and, you know, painting all sorts of places. So if you like it, I can keep videoing it. So just let me know. Alright, bye guys, till next week. Okay, and we are all finished. Here are the finished pieces. Got this beautiful little drawing here. And painting. And yeah. Didn't get fined, which is good.